Hello and welcome to the Two Brain Business YouTube channel. I am Jay Cohen, owner of Locomotion Fitness in Charleston, South Carolina, here to talk to you about how to live an amazing life as a gym owner. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that notifications bell so that you don't miss any of our stuff, especially stuff like this that is a two-part series. So in our last video, we talked about how to think about hiring a new coach, specifically a new head coach, and specifically from outside of the gym. And then I really dug into how to set the vision for that new hire so that you don't have to manage as much day to day. You become a resource instead of the thing that's dictating. And in that video, we really talked about the big picture, the end game goals for that new hire and for that new role. However, we also need to figure out where the rubber meets the road, right? What the heck is actually gonna happen when that person first gets going in your business? Because to just give them a big picture vision without any guidance on how your business runs or who your coaches are or what your membership is like is a recipe for disaster. So early on, we need to make sure that we provide a little bit of additional guidance, a very clear path on what we want this person to do to get started. Do we want them to just come in guns a-blazing, pew pew, and just change a million things all at one time? Do we want that to be a little bit of a slower, gradual process? As I thought through this, as a Marine, I know how important it is to build trust with the people that you work with and work for. I'm a big believer in servant leadership. So even though I might be technically higher in the chain of command, I see it as my job to serve and work for the people that are working for me, quote unquote. I really wanted to make sure that we did this in a way that everyone felt good about our new hire getting started. And so I identified 3 big key areas that we are gonna focus on, and then a 4th sort of bonus area that we're gonna work through as we get going. And in my mind, because I know how important it is to develop that camaraderie and develop that trust, that was mission number 1 for me. Because this was an external hire, because my staff and my membership has no clue who this person is, why they should listen to them, what their expertise is, what their experience is, I knew that I needed to get ahead of that. So first thing was I wanted to think about, from a broad picture, who is going to be responsible for helping with the sort of various buckets that our new head coach is stepping into, which again, we identified sort of 3 of those, 2 big ones and then a 3rd. And what I decided is that I was going to take everything head coach and staff training related. And that's because that was stuff that I was doing before I hired this new hire. So I have familiarity with it. I also know how I want my employees to be trained in order to deliver the service that I want to deliver. So it sort of seemed like a no-brainer that that was going to be my role. Now I also have a full-time ops manager already in place, and he is almost the exact opposite to me. His name is Steven. He is amazing. I'm a visionary. He's a details guy. That is why we work so well together. And so Steven already takes care of just about everything management and SOP process related. So that's going to be his role for that new hire. Anything that my new head coach Mike wants to do that has to do with creating SOPs or laying out new systems or dealing with questions that are coming up from trainers, that's all going to be taken by Steven. So that was important first, was let's figure out who's responsible for what in training this person. Then all 3 of us together are responsible for sitting down and brainstorming all the new ideas and processes that we want to put into place. From there, we'll come up with specific plans for each of those projects. So that was sort of high level. Now, the 3 big things that I knew we needed to tackle in the first month all have to do with getting to know this person and letting our new head coach get to know us. So number one was develop a relationship with the coaches. Again, if he just comes in here and is like, you need to do that better, your cues are terrible here, this process sucks, that's not going to go well, right? People are going to turn their nose up and say, why the heck should I be listening to you? You don't know anything about how we do things. So there's a few areas that I wanted to make sure that we started to build that trust. Number one is just having our head coach attend some classes. Actually, let me take a step back. Before he started going to classes, step one was intros. So it was myself and Mike sitting down with each of our coaches in an informal setting. It was a quick grab, like we were standing around after a class or before a class, or somebody had just finished a personal training question. Mike and I just went up. I just did a quick intro. Hey, this is Mike. He's our new head coach. My vision for him is to be a coach to the coaches. His role is going to be helping you develop, gain traction, be the best coach that you can possibly be so that you can help our members as best you possibly can. So just a quick intro from me with the coach and the head coach present. Literally 2 minutes. Next up, after those intros were done, I made a more formal introduction in Slack, which is what we use for our coach communication. So I laid out Mike's roles, right? Our new head coach roles, what he was going to be responsible for, what the flow was going to look like. Basically that impact filter that I went through last week, setting the vision, I let the whole team peek behind that curtain so they knew what he was coming on for and how he was going to be able to help them. After that, Mike, our new head coach, came in and posted a link to book an appointment with him. And he blocked off a full hour for every single coach to book a time with him so that they could sit down and talk. And he could get to know them and they could get to know him. And he could ask them what they see as pain points or problems. And he could really let them know that he is there not to be a micromanager, but to figure out how he can really help them grow and develop as coaches and as humans. Then once we got those meetings done, then it was, okay, he's gonna start hanging out around classes. Just sort of being a fly on the wall, observing, writing down things he was seeing, offering a helping hand with cueing or coaching, with clearance, with a conversation with the coach to make sure it was okay, not stepping on anyone's toes, but just being present so that coaches feel like he cares. Next up was to work out in group classes, that was both for the members and for the coaches. I wanted them to see that he was bought in and that he knows what he's doing and he knows how to move. And I think it just makes everyone feel a little bit more comfortable because in that dynamic, they are his leader. And so it sort of flips that script. So that was the first part, developing trust with the coaches. Next up was developing trust with the members. Same exact thing, right? Slightly different messaging because it's a different audience. But why the heck should members that have been here in this facility for 2 years they love how we do things, right? Nobody likes changes, and this is gonna be a big group of changes. They don't know who he is. They don't know why they should listen to him. So we need to tell them those things. First was an intro. So when Mike was at classes, I came out of my office and I went and I just did an intro to the whole class. Hey guys, this is Coach Mike. He just came down to us from New York City. He's stepping into the head coach role. He's gonna be a coach for the coaches and his job is to make our service incredible so that you guys have the best coaching you could possibly get. Make sure you say hi and let him know if you have any questions or comments. So we just did those class intros and we're still doing those class intros. Then we went into our Facebook members group, just like I went on to Slack, and I did a more formal introduction and formally told them why we hired him. And I owned very clearly that I felt like our product, our service was good, but not great. And I was not okay with that. I was open and clear about that. And I believe that level of vulnerability is part of the reason that my business is as successful as it is. People like to hear that you are human and that you're actively working to improve things for them. So told them all the same stuff, all the things, how their life was going to get better by having this head coach in place. Next up, Mike was creating content. So I have all of my new coaches create about 3 pieces of content. First one is about them. So who are you as a person? What do you like to do? Who are you as a coach? What are some things that are important to you in that realm? Second piece is a technical piece. Show off your expertise, right? Why should people listen to you? Wow them a little bit. Show them that you know what the heck you're talking about. And then the third piece is how he is going to be able to help Loco grow, how he is going to be able to help our athletes specifically. So those 3 pieces get written, get done, and we put them out across our social media in our members group. And it comes in our members group, it comes from Mike, right? So he's now starting to engage and interact with our members, both in the gym and digitally, so that they have more and more exposure to him, what he does, who he is, how he does things. Then again, just attending classes, right? Being in classes with somebody, sweating shoulder to shoulder, you know as well as I do, that is one of the strongest bonds that exists. Shared suffering drives tight relationships. So being in classes is another really important piece of that trust building process. So those are the first 2, right? Over the first month, those are really our primary focuses. Then the third thing is sort of a behind the scenes thing, which is learn and familiarize yourself with our systems, right? So I want Mike going through all of our software. So learning Slack, learning Zen Planner, learning SugarWOD, learning our staff website and SOPs, going through where all of our programming comes from, just like all the nuts and bolts of the business. We can develop trust, and then on the back end, he can work through all of that stuff so that when we are ready to start to make some changes, he's on firm ground with where we are right now. The other thing is I wanted him to review all of our current SOPs. How are we doing things specifically in our facility, and identifying any areas that he sees that might be improvements, right? He came from another really big gym in New York City, and it was of the size that I'm trying to grow to, even bigger. And so he's got a different viewpoint than I have, right? I'm coming bottom up, he's coming top down, and I want to know what he has to say. Next up is just learning about our client journey and our offers, right? Like, what are we selling people? How are our services packaged together? What does it look like from the moment somebody gives us their information through the 100-day mark at our gym, through the 1-year mark, 2-year mark through our gym? I want him to know that process so that he understands what the client experience is like, so that he can start to tailor that experience and make it better and better and better. The last thing, the fourth thing that I said was sort of like a sort of operating in the background, and I guess sort of ties to what we just talked about, was I have him working through the 2Brain content. 2Brain is the skeleton of my business. The 2Brain methodologies, ideas, practices are what I built my business on. They are how we operate, and they are freaking successful. They work. So I have all of my full-time people work through a lot of the modules that we have in 2Brain, be that the ramp up modules, the growth modules, or the tinker modules, so that they get an understanding and a broad sense of why we're doing the things that we're doing. Like, okay, we have this system in place. We use this entrepreneurial model. Why do we do that? 2Brain does a great job of explaining that, and it saves me a ton of time so that I don't have to be a broken record. Instead of me teaching him all this stuff, I can just go and send him to these modules where he can work through. Then he's going to be ultimately on a call with a mentor so that he has some guidance from, again, outside of me, right? It's a lot easier sometimes to hear things from somebody that is a little bit disconnected. So that is what we are focusing on in month 1 for my new head of coach development, head of personal training department. I'm very excited about this hire. It is a huge risk for me. It was a giant bet on myself, right? This is the first role I've hired. It's gonna cost me $60,000 a year. That does not directly contribute to my top line. He's not coaching. So now it's my job to figure out how to make an extra $60,000 next year. And obviously, my target is not to just cover what he's making, but to use him as leverage to really grow. And so the real number is to add $150,000 to our top line, which, man, close to that $1 million mark. All right, guys, I am Jay Cohen. This is the Two Brain Business YouTube channel. We talked today about bringing on coaches and what I'm focusing on for the first month. I hope that was helpful for you. If you have any questions or comments, just write them down below. We'll keep an eye on them, make sure that they get answered for you. Again, don't forget, like this video, subscribe to our channel, hit that notifications bell so you don't miss any of this amazing content. I can't wait to see you in the ranks of gym owners that are living happy, healthy, successful lives so that they can have happy, healthy, and successful clients. All right, guys, see you next time.